Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tech Summit Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Francisco.
Welcome to the podcast here. If you guys want, remember, follow all the social media that you'll see right down here.
Yeah.
We have a pretty big episode today because we're on the cusp of a couple of launches. We've been talking a lot about, PC launches, graphics cards, CPUs, which, by the way, no CPU. Scalpers got me to it again. So did not walk out there with good news.
I wasn't expecting that to happen to the CPUs, but I guess it did.
I guess they've just realized that maybe the PC market has a lot of money in it. But nevertheless, today is not a PC day.
Yes.
Today is a console day, or PC Lite, I guess, more or less. Because we are now a week away from the launches of both the Xbox Series S and X, as well as the PlayStation 5, both digital and physical. And that's got a lot of people buzzing around. Obviously, a lot of people are talking a lot more about one particular console
Right.
between the two of them.
And
but-
the better one, of course.
But I do think that it is worth discussing both of the options because, each of them have their pros and cons. I do think, even as a PC owner, I do think the Series X actually has a lot going for it, especially for the casual market that just wants to plug and play. But I know for a fact you're a lot more excited about the PlayStation 5. You're trying to get your hands on one,
Yes.
possibly to no avail right now, but who knows what happens when we get close to the day of. So tell me about it.
I'm very hopeful. I'm just as hopeful now as I was back when I was trying to buy a 3080, a 3090, and a 3070. Which I was actually very hopeful, but this time around I'm even more hopeful because a lot of people already got to pre-order their consoles, which does give me a little bit more headroom to be able to buy one, hopefully, if there's enough stock. So my expectation is that I should be able to get a PlayStation 5. I really hope so.
It
No.
does bode a little bit well that they actually did do pre-orders this time around.
Yeah.
They didn't do pre-orders for any of those PC parts that you just listed off. There were no 3080 pre-orders or anything like that. PlayStation 5 did have
Mhm.
pre-orders. The thing is that they kind of possibly completely underestimated how much demand there was going to be. Like, wasn't it said somewhere that like the amount of pre-orders for the PS5 beat out the amount of orders for PS4 within the first month of its launch or something like that?
I mean, that's something that could potentially happen.
I think it already happened.
Oh,
Like, they prepared for like a month's worth of shipments and they completely
Mhm.
sold out in like minutes.
well, that wouldn't be too surprising. One, because people have been expecting the Xbox Series X and S for longer because Microsoft already started doing pretty heavy marketing since last year, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and then Sony was actually pretty late into the game when it came to
Very
the
late into
marketing.
the game.
Yeah, it looks like they either needed the extra time or they were just thriving off of that mystery factor. But
I think there was also very much like an arms race between the two companies. Like, for example, nobody wanted to reveal the price
mhm,
for the longest time. And I think that really was just a matter of like, who's going to, because, whoever announces the price first, the other side is definitely going to try and, undermine that.
yeah, either match it or undermine it. And in this case, they ended up matching it.
To an extent.
Yeah, with the highest end one, they matched it.
Yeah,
With the lower
exactly.
end one,
The Series
Microsoft,
S, very much,
yeah, it's still undercuts.
$300
Mhm.
for a very small system too. Like, that system is smaller than this board here. It's
and this is only used for recording audio, granted.
exactly. You can't get Netflix on this board.
No, sadly.
But so yeah, no, I mean, there's also the possibility of, not even the possibility, the guarantee that a lot of reason why the PlayStation has gotten a lot more excitement is because the PS4 was so much more like in demand throughout this entire generation.
hmm
A lot of people have that brand loyalty. They want to stay with PlayStation, even if it may not be the best deal. We're going to discuss that over time on this episode. We have a lot of thoughts when it comes to that particular thing.
Yeah, we will definitely get to that.
Absolutely going to be covering that one. Fun fact, when we were actually doing test recordings for this podcast, long before we even did our very first episode, this actually came up a little bit as a subject, just so we can run off a little bit and talk about that. So we're kind of treading familiar ground here
Yeah.
on a public space.
We're going back to the good old days of
What was it, early October?
early October. Yeah.
1 month ago,
Ah, the memories.
way back in the embryo.
Yeah.
So, now in a more public space, as we get closer to the launch, hopefully we have a little bit more to add to it, more to discuss and stuff like that.
Of course. And there's definitely going to be a lot more updates on this podcast coming for the next episode, since we're going to be already pretty much like just the day before, I think, launch,
Well, I
or
mean,
the day of.
so, I mean, pulling back the curtain a little bit, take a look at the man behind the curtain here, but we tend to record these episodes a day before they actually air.
Yeah.
So while we're recording a day before the Series X launch, we'd be releasing it on the day of. So like the console would already be out, because assuming it's a midnight launch, which
Okay.
no doubt about it probably is. So then we'd be basically 2 days away from the PS5.
Okay.
So, next episode, Xbox will already be out, and then PlayStation is what's going to be coming next after that.
I see. Okay, so I suppose that's going to dictate a lot of what we're going to be talking about next episode. But for now, let's focus on what is happening so far. So far, we know of the release date for both consoles. We know that
Yes.
both of them are still in very high demand.
Yes. I mean, I don't actually know too much about the whole pre-order status of the Xbox. Has the Xbox pre-order sold out as well, or is it just PlayStation having that issue?
I think they're both having issues.
Okay.
I'm at least fairly certain. I haven't like triple, quadruple checked on that, because every retail is every retailer is going to vary on that.
Right.
But the release date of both consoles is definitely being hyped with all these reviews already being released. Though specifically more so on the PlayStation 5, it seems like there's just a little bit more excitement behind
A
that.
little bit. A lot more excitement,
Yeah,
which I
that's
get
putting
it.
it mildly.
I get it. But I think you also know ahead of time that I also kind of disagree, depending on where you stand on these things. But
Well, you already know where I stand. I
I
think
was
that
gonna
Sony's
say,
gonna win this
I was
generation.
gonna say, I suppose before we go further into this stuff, we may as well let the audience know where we stand on this stuff. And yeah, go ahead, start us off here.
I'm very much a Sony guy. If I haven't made that clear throughout this entire recording so far, I think that the PlayStation 5 is going to win again.
Cool. I'm very much on the side of neither.
Neither.
Yeah, no, I don't like the whole idea of PC master race, but I do think, as someone who will have the PC that he will have, in the coming months, that I personally don't really have much of a reason to buy either one. However, if I do have to pick one that I would personally buy, I suppose it would be PlayStation. If I have to pick one that I think makes the most sense and should win, it's probably Xbox.
Okay, and that's when we set the stage for this debate per se.
That's where everything starts to split apart, because you believe full stop that Sony's going to win. I believe Xbox should win.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to disagree about the idea of Sony probably winning, because again, brand loyalty is king. We've seen this with Apple and stuff like that. Like, brand loyalty matters a lot.
Besides that, though, like why do you believe that Series X and Series S should win?
It's entirely based on Game Pass.
Entirely based on Game Pass?
It's almost
really?
entirely based on Game Pass. Like, if we're talking about actual, like, value for your dollar, the Series X is a stronger console than the PS5. The Series S is a much better value than the PS5.
Okay.
Minus a couple of hiccups, which we'll get into, which affects all of these consoles. We will get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about, like, say, for example, subscriptions and stuff like that, there's no question about it that the Xbox Game Pass is a much better deal than PlayStation Plus,
Oh yes, yes.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, no argument there.
And I actually took a couple of notes before we started recording. So, we're being a little bit professional here now, treading new ground here. I have a
Yeah,
handy
finally.
notebook,
It took us 6 episodes in order to get here.
and yet I still forgot to take a couple of notes. Again, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Because I forgot certain numbers. But at the same time, it was announced a couple months ago that for the Xbox, they are in fact offering financing plans for the system.
Mhm.
Specifically, though, starting $25 a month, you will get a next generation console, whether it be the Series S or the Series X, whichever one you want.
Mm-hmm.
You get Game Pass Ultimate
Included.
So that's Game Pass plus Xbox Live Gold, so you can play online, stuff like that.
Oh wow.
Um, and they also just sort of boot in there as a bonus EA Play and that entire subscription. I know there's a lot of people out there. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I know what a lot of people are probably thinking. Why the hell do I want EA Play? Oh boy, I get to play Madden. Wow. But
Yeah, feel free to answer. Go ahead and defend
easy,
it.
easy. Because when people think of EA Play, they think immediately of like, oh, we get to play Madden or FIFA or whatever. But you also get Mass Effect, the entire trilogy of Mass Effect. You get the entire trilogy of Dead Space. Like, you get genuinely good games. You get Mirror's Edge in there as well. Like, you get genuinely good games to where, like, you can completely disregard the sports titles and you still have a decent offer on play there. And honestly, you get completely free. It's like, why not?
What about a Battlefield?
Yeah, you get Battlefield 2. You get all the Battlefield games up to 5, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sure that there's going to be some value there. For
I'm
some
sure that they haven't necessarily made it official yet for the standard version of EA Play. Like, that's for the premium EA Play, the super premium.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it's only a matter of time when Jedi Fallen Order becomes a part of it. We already got Battlefront 2, which is a lot better than it was when it launched. I can say that from experience.
Okay.
Battlefront 2 is actually genuinely a good game. Like, the issues that happened at launch are very much a far gone, way off in the distance type thing.
It was either that or the game was going to die in the same way that Anthem did.
Exactly. Anthem is a part of EA Play. Yeah.
There you go.
Same thing with not Rocket League. What was the other one? Rocket thing.
I have no idea.
Whatever it was.
Rocket something.
Yeah, that game that failed instantly. That's also a part of EA Play. But point is, all right, you get. I know I realize I'm sounding like I'm putting strikes against Xbox here, but you do get.
Or I can go on and help you with that.
Again, starting $25 a month, you get the system, you get Game Pass Ultimate, you do get EA Play, booted in there. But even if you take EA Play out of the equation, Xbox Game Pass on itself is just a ridiculous value. Don't mute me. I saw that. Don't you dare mute me. It is just a fantastic offer because you're getting this huge variety of indie titles, these AAA games and stuff like that, and then you're getting every single Xbox exclusive at launch. I know Halo Infinite has the problems that it does. It's been delayed indefinitely now to whenever it's gonna come out. The director has left the game, which I think that's like the second or third director to leave the project.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, Halo has its problems, but nevertheless, you do get that game at launch. $60 game, and you get it instantly with Game Pass, which is as low as $5 a month if you're on PC, for example, like I am.
That's actually pretty crazy. Yeah,
it is a very good deal. Same thing with Forza if you care about racing games or whatever.
Yeah.
All of those exclusives, they just show up at launch for that. And now we're also talking about Bethesda. Because remember, Microsoft has in fact bought Bethesda.
Yes, which the question is still up in the air of whether or not Bethesda games are going to be Xbox and PC exclusives, or no, they're not.
No, because here's the thing: Deathloop is a game from Arcane Studios, which is from Bethesda. Deathloop is a PS4 and PS5 timed exclusive. So even though Microsoft officially owns Bethesda and therefore now owns the rights to Deathloop, it's still going to be a timed exclusive for PC and PS4 and 5.
Okay.
And then it will come to Xbox later on.
What's going to happen with the Elder Scrolls and that other space game that they were working on?
Starfield. If I was a betting man, I believe fully that they will come out to PS4 and 5. Well, PS5 now at this point, I think. Like, they will come to PS5 the exact same time as Xbox and PC. But at the same time, you will have the added benefit on PC or Xbox of getting them on Game Pass at launch.
That is the hope.
That is the expectation.
The expectation.
The expectation is that these games will be on Game Pass at launch.
Okay.
The only question is just, is it going to come to PS5 at the day of launch, or will it be a timed exclusive? I don't think they're going to go timed exclusive. I think it will be there at launch. It's just, pick your poison. You either pay $60 for it on your PS5, or you get an Xbox and you get it at launch for $5 a month.
Which is really does bring up that question about value. Like, essentially, The only thing that could really justify that difference is whether or not you're actually interested in those games to
Yeah.
begin with.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you're
Yeah.
not interested in a Death Loop, if you're not interested in Elder Scrolls, if you're not interested in Forza,
Or in that EA service.
we're gonna ignore the EA service entirely just because like that's a bonus. But we're talking Game Pass here.
Mm-hmm.
Which the thing is, Game Pass has a lot of games for everybody. Like Game Pass has games for everybody. They have horror, they have indie, they have strategy.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna sit here and say that Game Pass is not a good offer for anybody because
No, yeah,
there's
yeah. Like
everything
it
there.
is, it is a great value for
Yeah.
sure. Like even as somebody that doesn't use it
Right.
or has never used it, like I definitely do see the value of it.
I definitely think you should definitely look into it just because again with Final Fantasy, like they already said every Final Fantasy game from 7 to 15 is going to be on Game Pass at some point.
From 7 to 15.
All the 3D Final Fantasies basically.
Uh,
Except for obviously 11 and probably 14, but
yeah, no, yeah. I don't see 11 making it there. I think 14 is a lot more likely though.
but other than that, like I mean, like I remember too, like they actually had listed it was at the Game Awards last year, I believe it was, or something like that. They said 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, the entire 13 trilogy and 15 are all
Okay.
going to be on Game Pass.
Okay.
Right now, we already have 7, 9, and 15 there. That's
Yeah.
probably going to be inevitable when they get the others on there. So there might be some value for you unless you already own those games. You probably already own those games.
I do already own those games on PC.
Damn it.
Yeah.
My marketing skills are not working out here.
In fact, the other Final Fantasy games are not included on Game Pass. I also already own
yes,
on
the
PC.
2D ones. I don't know why the 2D ones aren't available there. They
Yeah.
really should be.
I mean, there's some 3D ones that are also older that just got remade in 3D, like Final Fantasy 3 and 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they do have 3D versions of those two games.
Right.
I did play through 3, but funnily enough, I did play it on the 3DS. But like that
Right.
aside, while I haven't tried Game Pass, I do understand that it is still a really good value.
It's
It's really cheap.
It's the best value in games, period. Like yes, you do have your EA Play, and the fact that you reacted the way you did is very indicative of how people react to that one. I know Ubisoft has its own thing, which it's not called Uplay Plus anymore, is it? It's like Ubisoft Plus now or something, whatever it may be.
I have not been so much in the loop for that.
I know Ubisoft has one.
Yeah, they do have their own service and their own launcher.
They have their
and
own
everything.
subscription service too.
Yeah.
But like EA has one, Ubisoft has one.
Mhm.
Like all these places have these things, but like nothing gets even remotely close to just how good Game Pass in particular is.
Yeah.
When it comes
Yeah,
to
because Game
the amount
Pass
of games it has.
encompasses everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like it's significantly better, and like on paper when it comes to pure value, Xbox has the winning thing here, especially if you
Mhm.
go for, like, for example, the Series S, because you don't really care about a disk drive. You just
Mhm.
want the budget console, which is expected to run 1440p, 60 frames per second, almost locked, guaranteed.
Mhm.
Like if you get something like that and then you get Game Pass, that's just a fantastic deal right there. $300 plus like $5 a month or so for that Game Pass. Or Game Pass Ultimate, I think is 15 if you include Xbox Live with it.
Yeah, which isn't bad at all.
Is an absolutely amazing deal, especially if
Yeah.
you also going with the thing here again, starting at $25 a month.
Mhm.
If you have a financing plan, you get the console with it. And I know with PlayStation, they've
Mhm.
offered something similar, like PlayStation Plus. I don't even remember what it was called. PlayStation Plus Deluxe. We'll just call it that or something like that. I know
Yeah.
they offered a bunch of games, and of course, those games are playable on PlayStation 5 because of backwards
Mhm.
compatibility. And they have some decent games on there. You have your Last of Us, you have your God of War. Here's a problem: you don't have Last of Us 2 on there. You don't get Ghost of Tsushima there. These are games
Mhm.
that not only like these games have already launched.
Yes.
They're already out.
Yeah.
And they are not included with that service yet.
Yeah, these are games that Sony is definitely hoping to bank on before they start giving it away. per se.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Microsoft, on the other hand, is saying straight up, Halo Infinite, our flagship franchise.
Mhm.
Here, just take it in the Game Pass.
It is a
It's
very strong
yours.
start.
It's yours. That's
Mhm.
it. Meanwhile, Sony is like, no. You want that game? No, you got to pay $60 for that one. Either that or wait a year or two.
Yes.
And that's just a problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, as far as value is concerned, I think Xbox wins out here. And
Mhm.
if it's not for the brand loyalty of people, everyone being on PlayStation, all my friends are having PlayStation. Why shouldn't I go there? If I go to Xbox, if you ignore all of that, there's no reason why Xbox shouldn't like really have the upper hand here.
Actually, well, I mean, for myself, I guess I'm a very niche I'm part of the very niche group, I guess, in the sense that I generally don't play games online. If I do multiplayer, it tends to be local multiplayer. Like I just prefer a single player experience no matter what. So I don't pay for PlayStation Plus at all. I
Mm.
just play my games by myself as I prefer.
You don't care about the instant game collection.
I do. I don't personally.
It's not that great anyway.
Yeah, right. Like it's not that great. It's not that good of a value to really make me want to pay for a
Mhm.
service. Honestly, like the games that Sony ends up giving away are already really cheap if you buy them physically on Amazon or something like that. So like it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
And oftentimes the games that they decide that they want to give away that month, I tend to not want. The only game I think that they ever gave away for free that I ever really wanted was Bloodborne, and I
Mm.
wasn't paying for their service at that time.
Right.
I only tried it for 1 month because I couldn't for the life of me beat uh, the final boss in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Mm.
And I was just like, all right, friend of mine, I'm going to pay for this service right now so that we could do remote play and you can beat the final boss for
You
me.
have to pay for PlayStation Plus to use a remote play?
Yep, you do.
I thought that was a built-in feature.
No,
Oh,
not quite.
wow.
Like from a distance like that.
I've had a PS4 for like 5 years. I never realized that. Wow.
No, yeah, it is. It is a thing. I was like, buddy, friend, I will pay $10 this time because I really want to just get through this game already.
Mm.
I have no patience to go back, grind, and deal with this boss. I'm sick of this combat system. I'm willing to pay the extra $10 for you to do it. And
Alright.
he's like, all right, fine. And he did it in like one try. And I was like, okay, great, finally.
Well spent.
Yes, I get to move on to Kingdom Hearts 2 after I watched the movie versions of the other games.
Yeah, yeah.
But like with that aside, obviously everybody knows this. The main value proposition for PlayStation for Sony is going to be their exclusives.
Right.
Final Fantasy 16, the next
Mhm.
God of War, the next version of Horizon Zero Dawn that does have a different name.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Forbidden West.
Forbidden West. You also have Demon Souls remake, which is one that I really, really, really
I was about to say,
want.
that's the one thing that you really need to get a PS5 right now for, isn't it?
Yes. I thought that it was going to come to PC, but no, not yet. At least not yet.
I mean, it never came to PC before.
No,
Demon Souls was always PS3, right?
right, yeah, but like, I mean, we have Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, on PC, so
Yeah.
like there's that possibility
You
that
don't
Demon
have
Souls could come.
Bloodborne though.
No, Bloodborne.
You
That
don't have Bloodborne.
it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Which I can play because I'm on PS4.
Yeah.
It's probably like what $20 on Amazon, but that's not.
Not even, probably cheaper now.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, so that's going to be mostly the value proposition there, and also that the budget version of the PlayStation 5 is still going to have the same internals as the regular PlayStation 5. It's just not going to have a disk drive.
Mm.
Versus the Series X and the Series S, which are basically two different consoles that perform differently.
Yeah.
And that is definitely going to play in part into which one you end up getting. But there's one really big issue that I have with all of these consoles combined. And that is going
Yes.
to be the storage problem.
Yes.
Yes, it's just too little.
Far too little.
Yeah, far too little, especially with how big these games are. I'm more so on the camp that, and I know that I'm in the minority for this because people really hate load times, but I personally don't mind waiting a little bit longer if it means that I get to store more games on my console.
Yep, disagree there. I definitely disagree. I just wish that they had more space. Like, so it came out recently. I'm gonna focus specifically on the Series S here
Mhm.
because the Series S, out of all of these, is the budget console option.
And it has like 300 gigs.
I was about to get to that. Yeah. So the SSD in the Series S is about 512 gigabytes, and you get 368, I believe, for games. And with the amount of space that a lot of these games take up nowadays, that is basically about 4 or 5 games.
AAA games, that is.
AAA games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we're talking indie titles, you get a lot more space there. But
Oh yeah, way more. Like it's definitely going to last you in that sense, but you are going to end up running out, And I think that that's when a lot of hard drive sales are going to start going up.
You need no, yeah, with the Series S, you need external storage. I mean, same thing with the PS5 digital only.
Hmm.
It's just that you can stave it off a little bit longer because it's a terabyte. But
Yeah. You will eventually need it for all of these.
period. Because
Yes.
even those physical based games take
Hmm.
up a lot of space now. We've run into that problem with the PS4 all the time. You get a
Hmm.
physical disc, and it still installs 50 gigabytes worth of game.
Yeah. And that's usually the vast majority of that game. And that tends to happen with a lot of like the most popular games. Call of Duty, for instance.
It makes you wonder why they're even printing these things on Blu-ray discs. You have all of that space in the Blu-ray disc that just doesn't get used.
I do still hope that they keep printing those because I prefer to keep physical copies of things.
I like the ability to resell games.
That too. Yeah, like that is another aspect.
Like if I play a game and it's super short, it's really nice to be able to at
Mm.
least get my money, yeah, at least a little bit money back.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been able to do that a lot with Switch games that I ended up not liking.
Right? Yeah.
So that aspect is one that I would hope to keep. However, if the only version of the PS5 that I can get on launch is the all digital edition, then I mean, either way, regardless of which one I get, I know that for sure I will have to end up upgrading the storage eventually. I had to do that for the PlayStation 4
Which that's another thing.
immediately.
That's another thing I want to know, by the way, when it comes to the PlayStation 5 as well, because we're talking about the Series S being kept down to like 368 gigabytes.
Hmm.
PlayStation 5, both versions.
Yeah.
Excuse me, both versions of the PS5. Terabyte of storage. You get maybe I think 804 gigabytes, 804, 806 gigabytes.
Yeah.
For games. Slightly similar, maybe a little bit less for the Series X.
Right.
When it comes to that,
It's negligible, probably, the difference.
That's the thing, because the Series X is also a terabyte storage,
Mhm.
in the base, right?
Yeah.
So like, nevertheless, you're still losing a solid 200 plus gigabytes
Yeah.
in all instances for like the operating system and how that works, and it's just that's very unoptimized. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty insane just how much data their respective operating systems and I guess whatever types of bloatware they want to have on there.
Yeah.
Like stuff that you don't really want that you can't actually get rid of, but they're still going to have in there anyway.
Exactly, your streaming services that you're not even paying for at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy, Hulu, thanks.
Crunchyroll. I watch my anime dub. I wanted Funimation and I can't delete this. Seriously.
Yeah. It's funny I mentioned Hulu though, because I actually am subscribed to Hulu.
Yeah, me too. I
through,
like
through my
Hulu.
Spotify, but
Yeah, same. But and by the way, I've been meaning actually to upgrade my Hulu because I'm getting really sick of those ads.
ad block.
I mean, I can't on my PS4.
Don't watch on your PS4.
It-
I don't want. Yeah, no, I watch Hulu entirely on my computer and ad block. Easy.
Oh, I gotcha. I
Yeah.
guess that's a pretty good solution for you.
Yeah,
But
no, it's very.
for me, like when I watch stuff, it has to be when I'm like distanced from my computer because if I'm on my computer, I'm doing work or
Just
gaming.
push your chair away from the desk, and there you go. That's it.
No,
You have the same simulated experience.
it's not the same. It's not my pillow.
Just put your pillow on the chair.
Ah, despicable. How dare you even suggest
Keep
that?
coming up with more excuses. So,
I know
anyway.
that you're gonna keep insisting.
So anyway, you were talking about exclusives because that is in fact the one big thing that PlayStation has. It's like I'm talking all this much about how Xbox has Game Pass, Xbox has a stronger console in terms of the Series X
Mhm.
versus the PlayStation 5. Xbox has the more budget console in terms of Series S versus PlayStation 5 digital. Like
Mhm.
it has all these things, but it doesn't have Spider-Man, and that's going to be a big deal for a lot of people.
Hmm. And as far as we know, it's not going to have Final Fantasy 16 for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to have God of War. It's not going
Ever.
Yeah. The next Persona game is probably not going to Xbox either. So
Yeah.
think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make note to the audience, by the way. I'm not necessarily advocating that you buy an Xbox Series X because I'm not going to buy one. Like I like how I'm standing up here for Xbox, but it's not like I'm sitting here being like, "Oh, I'm buying an Xbox and this is why."
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not buying either one.
You and I just both understand that the Xbox is a better value between the two, and that is true.
It is.
And
Because-
that value is going to fluctuate depending on what kind of person you are.
Here's the perspective that I'm coming at it with. Sorry to interrupt. But here's the
No, that's
perspective
fine.
I'm coming at it with. I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone who only buys consoles and does not have the time, money, or motivation to deal with PC gaming.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure there's people out there in the PC master race who will probably come out of the woodwork to say, it's not that hard, it's not that expensive, Steam sales make up for the costs. I'm ignoring that because you have to consider that there's a lot of people out there who don't want to hassle with all of that. They just want to plug in a system into their TV and just sit on the couch and play a game.
I would disagree with those people anyway who think that PC gaming is cheaper than console gaming, because it's not.
It depends on the return on investment.
And
there's a lot of people who are also going to say, well, you can use that PC for your actual work stuff too. And it's like, yeah,
but
sure.
Under those circumstances, sure. But if you just want a PC for gaming, then
you also have
it's going to be more expensive.
It's going to cost you more.
Yeah.
Especially if you want it to be like, the thing is, you have a lot of people in the PC gaming market who will say simultaneously that PC is cheaper than console and that PC is more powerful than console. And it's like, you cannot necessarily have it both ways. At least not right now.
No.
Like, yes, right now, sure, you can build a PC for the same price as a PS4 that is stronger than a PS4. You cannot necessarily do that with a PS5. Not yet. Not for a little bit. Probably going to be a couple of years.
Yes, and even then, I would say that it's by a very small margin too. Like, you're not going to get that much more mileage out of that $500 PC over the $200 PS4.
And of course, we're also not accounting for we're not accounting for the convenience aspect.
Yes.
Plug and play into your TV in the living room, chill on the couch. You can't really do that with a PC. Yes, there's Steam big picture mode and stuff like that, but then you have to fiddle with a lot more wires.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that you have to build that PC, or you pay extra for someone else to do it for you. In which case, then you definitely went higher than a console. Yeah. So, all due respect to the PC Master Race or whatever it may be, I'm in there. I'm going to be a PC and Switch gamer at the current moment, basically. But let's ignore that.
I mean, personally, the only reason why I want a PS5 so bad on launch day is because I want to play Demon's Souls so bad.
For you is the exclusives.
Yes.
Same thing. For me, if I do end up getting a PS5 to go alongside that PC, it will be because of the exclusives.
Right.
But talking about a casual gamer, casual audience, whatever it may be, on a value level, it really is Xbox.
Yeah, and the Xbox wins for sure. The Xbox Series S, great
because that's the thing. The Xbox Series S and X, but especially the X. The Xbox Series X is basically just a budget PC.
Yeah.
It is a budget PC.
It's even a tower.
Exactly. It looks like a tower.
Yeah.
It looks like a tower, and then the PS5 looks like a router. But it
looks like many things. It looks like a spaceship. It looks like a sandwich.
It looks like the popped collars from Kaiba and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What's it called? But like on a value level, it's going to be Xbox because you have the Game Pass, because it is a stronger. It is a budget PC. It is a budget PC with the subscription stuff that you can find on a PC, and it's just plug and play. So for a casual person who only buys consoles, it is a better value to go with an Xbox. The only reason why you go with a PlayStation at that point is because either you care a lot about the exclusives, you really want to play God of War, Spider-Man, or Demon's Souls, or you really play multiplayer games and all of your friends are staying with PlayStation for whatever reason that they may have.
Yeah.
So that's a herd mentality there.
Yeah. I would say that that's most of it. I would like to add, though, some leverage here that possibly the UI might be one aspect
that's right.
That some people might be
I actually
considering.
haven't seen the Xbox UI. I've only seen PlayStation's.
Oh, I would consider the Xbox's UI to be superior than the PlayStation's for sure. Yes. Already, like, if it weren't for the fact that at the time, well, and even now, Persona 5 wasn't exclusive to the PlayStation 4, I would have definitely gone for the Xbox because, one, I think it looks better, the UI looks nicer, and I prefer the size of the Xbox One controller versus the DualShock 4. I still don't love it that much. But because of that aspect, that the exclusives that I wanted to play were on the PlayStation 4, I was kind of forced to go in that direction. But I think that now with the PlayStation 5, I feel like that's not going to be a complaint anymore. I think that the DualSense or DualShock 5 controller.
DualShock 5. It's never going to be a DualSense for me. It's DualShock 5.
Yeah. And we're going to call it that.
Maybe DualShock with a 5 where the S is supposed to be, just for added cool points.
Yeah, it just depends on how you see it. You know what? It's up to interpretation. But that controller, to me, looks like a much bigger step up from the DualShock 4 controller
Right.
than it was from the new Series X
The
controller.
haptic triggers are very interesting.
Yeah, the haptic triggers, like supposedly there's going to be now like a really good sense of weight going into them and stuff, which I'm gonna be frank here, similar to the touchpad, hardly any developers are going to even bother doing anything with that.
I hope they do, honestly.
That's
Like,
always the hope, but
I feel
they're
like
not gonna
I
do
feel
it.
like haptic triggers have a much better use to them than the touchpad does.
Sure, but I, I mean, look at it this way. HD Rumble is a big feature on the Switch per se. Like it was something that they were really touting that it was going to be
Yeah.
so revolutionary. Like
Right.
it's like you see that ad and then with with one of the big boys or the big men, I should say, over at Nintendo, and they're shaking a glass of ice.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So like with that ad, like I mean, that set my expectations really high. How many games actually make use of that? Barely any.
I guess, but
And even then, like it's really just a gimmick. Like it's not
I
really a useful
suppose
feature.
I still feel like the triggers are more of a thing though, because you can use the triggers to like simulate like fatigue, for example. Like if you're really tired and your stamina has gone completely down, it's gonna be a lot harder to push the triggers because there's less energy, and you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Like I can see actual use for the triggers as far as gameplay is concerned.
And if that's the case, I do hope that that's an option that you get to turn on and off.
I hope it becomes a commonplace thing, honestly.
I
Like it's cool that it's there for PS5. It'd be really nice if it one day like a feature like that comes to Xbox or becomes a feature on PC with your gamepad and stuff like that.
if you do end up getting more resistance on those triggers, like just based on how damaged you are in the game, I do hope that that's something that you can turn that on and off because I can see that getting pretty annoying for a lot of people.
I imagine it's probably optional.
Yeah,
Well, it's
I would
probably
hope
gonna be
so.
optional for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, because one issue with consoles is that a lot of things on them have not been optional. So
Right.
yeah, I would hope that that's it. Though it is something that would need um effort to be put from any given developer anyway. So yeah, like that's still going to be one point of contention.
Right.
Yeah, but either way, to conclude this particular segment, Xbox is going to be a better value.
But PlayStation's probably still going to win the generation because the exclusives and the herd mentality. Everyone
Yes.
just like PlayStation. That's the thing. Xbox really killed themselves this past generation when the Xbox One was announced, and you had all those like
Mm-hmm.
anti-consumer policy. That's the thing you also have to notice too. It tends to be that sort of thing where whoever lost the generation tends to come in more with a pro gamer stance,
Yeah.
while the one who won out is the more complacent and kind of just like smug one there.
Yeah.
Like Xbox 360 beat the PS3, and then Xbox thought, all right, we can just do whatever we want. Goodbye, used games, always on Connect. And then, PS4 was very much the pro gamer one.
Yeah.
PS4 wipes Xbox off the map, and now PS5 is very much just kind of like, you're going to buy it. You're not going to do that much because you're going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
And Xbox is the one coming out here being like, Game Pass,
Mhm.
financial plans, Series S. We love gamers. Like it's very sort of like a 180 depending on whoever is winning or losing. Nintendo just goes off and does their own thing.
Yeah.
But yes, there is sort of that question because we have that sort of problem. You can't get a PS5. You can't get an Xbox. What do we do?
Well,
And
let's see
so, of
until
course-
launch day to find out. Of
Let's see
course,
until
but-
launch day to come out. But as it
Mhm.
currently stands, it's very likely that you're not going to walk out with either system. PS5 is almost virtually going to be impossible. Like you mentioned before, like before we recorded that Sony said straight out to not line up.
Yeah, because there aren't going to be any physical sales,
So,
like in-store sales.
so basically, it's like all the stock is going to be online just because of the demand there.
Yeah, which could essentially mean bots patrol.
Bot Patrol. I mean, Bot Patrol already got them with the pre-orders.
Yeah.
Bots already got them there. Yeah, no. Year of the bot.
Yeah.
Very much the year of the bot.
If you go on eBay already just a bunch of PlayStation 5s. Do you want the all digital edition? $800.
$800.
Yeah.
So double the price.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same thing for the one with the Blu-ray disc.
Mm.
It's not a good time to be a gamer.
So yeah, no, it could be a good time because the thing is, okay, can't get a PS5, probably won't be able to get an Xbox. You need your next generation gaming craze. You need that fix. You need that fix. Well, boy, is Atari here to help you. Because throughout all this hullabaloo, we've all forgotten that Atari is coming back with the VCS.
Yeah. And they're guaranteed to have a lot of stock.
Still slated for fall 2020. We are more than halfway through fall 2020. Still don't have an actual release date. You know,
Yeah.
Wikipedia says November 27th, citation needed.
Honestly,
They are very upfront saying that's bull.
honestly, we're still expecting a delay here.
No question about it. There's definitely going to be a delay.
Yeah. If it's still fall 2020, most likely still going to be a delay.
But nevertheless, there is still a third, or technically a fourth player. Because again, Nintendo is out there doing its own thing. But there is a fourth player. We have Atari back from the grave. 40 years, almost 40 years after the crash. 30 years since they came out with a console, the Atari Jaguar, if you remember that one.
Yes.
The rotating Jaguar cube. Wow. That just here they come again with the VCS.
I feel like we needed a
Oh
sound
boy.
effect.
Very excited. Who cares?
I care because I'm totally going to get one on launch day now.
Okay, yeah, honestly, I'm not going to front with you. I'll be honest, just because of the audacity of it existing, the Atari VCS has been by far the most interesting console to be coming out of this generation.
Yeah.
Far more interesting than a Switch. Way more interesting than the PS5 or the Series X. It's
Granted,
just
it still hasn't gotten that much buzz, but like still, it's so interesting. It's such an
buzz?
enigma.
That's the reason why it's such an enigma. There is no buzz for it. Nobody is hyped for this thing. There's actually like, okay, now we're going real far back too. You know, you have back in the day we have message boards on the internet, you know, your forums and stuff like that, way before social media really took over, or Discord groups and stuff like that. There are still message boards out there that are very active of Atari fandoms, you know, your retro gamers who are like really caring about, you know, your Atari, your Intellivision, your ColecoVision. Even they are looking at the Atari VCS as like, is this a joke? Like, none of them are looking at this thing with any kind of interest. But here it is. Here it is. Clearly, they're going to prop themselves up as the alternative to a PS5 and the Series X. And, you know,
why do that when you have a PC, when you have emulators? Because even a fodder PC can run that kind of emulators. I mean, come on.
A literal toaster with like a display screen or something like that could probably run it.
Yeah, that
could run
joke Razer toaster.
Exactly. It could run Doom, definitely. It's probably going to be able to run. You have Texas Instrument calculators, you know, those smart calculators that you had in elementary school. Those things, they can run Doom. No doubt about it, they can run Atari games.
Yeah.
So it's like, and those things are like what, $100? And those are over expensive as it is.
Yeah.
The Atari VCS is marketed at $390. $10 less than the digital PS5, $90 more than the Series S.
Oh boy, that's quite the bargain. I better open up a credit card for this one.
And we're talking about a console whose big point is
nostalgia.
It plays Atari games, and you can boot Windows on it.
Maybe if it can even run it. And
that's
the specs
right. Tell me about the specs.
Do not help at all.
Please tell me about the specs.
Oh Jesus, I don't remember like right off the bat exactly what specs it has, but I do know that it barely has any RAM.
Yeah.
The CPU is a Garbo, and so much more. Like it's pretty much there to just, like it's overkill for running, the Atari emulators that it's essentially going to be running at launch.
Yes.
But it's not going to be able to run Windows properly because Windows has been becoming more and more demanding over time. And this console already, like you look at the spec sheet, you look at the price tag, this console better be made out of aluminum with like some diamond streaks in it.
I mean, they have alternate color schemes and stuff like that. And they of course they have the two controllers. They do have the two controller types. Like you have your standard sort of pro controller type thing, and they do in fact have a retro joystick with the 8 axes, I believe. No, for your classic Atari games, it's probably a lot more responsive and less gummy than the original.
Yeah.
because the original was really gummy when you really thought it was like you have to like force it in order to do
Yeah.
anything with it.
Yeah, this one might have a
Um,
little bit of haptic feedback. Who
to the
knows?
point though, to the point though, it is overkill for Atari emulation, definitely.
Yes.
But one of the things that Atari has really been trying to like sort of market themselves as well is that it's gonna like, they're really trying to appeal to indie devs a lot. Um, like they're trying to get indie developers over because it's probably going to be able to run a lot of indie games. Like no doubt about it. If you can in fact boot Windows on there, you could probably play Hollow Knight just fine.
Again, even if you
But
want this just as an indie machine, as an indie game machine,
it should not be that expensive.
it should not.
$400.
At the most, half of that price, and that is still overselling it.
If that's the thing. Okay, so
Go for it.
just as a note, by the way, that I personally would love nothing more than to talk about this more when we actually do have a solid release date.
Mhm.
And if whether I or Tech Summit itself picks one up for, purposes of review, whatever. If I pick one up, by all means, borrow it for the review purposes, please. I probably won't buy one, but who knows? The future is unwritten, I guess.
Who knows?
But anyway, I do believe, yeah. The biggest problem that I have with the Atari VCS is the price point of $400. If
Mhm.
you cut it in half, or if you cut it in a quarter, like make it $100 or $150,
Mhm.
I think that thing would be really good. Like I would actually be really interested in it, just
Mhm.
because like you can have this dedicated machine for emulation purposes. Because you're talking right now about, first off, it's going to emulate Atari games from the get go. It's
Yeah.
obviously an Atari thing. They have, in fact, marketed being able to also emulate Intellivision and ColecoVision as part of the features.
Mhm.
Like those games are also going to be on there, so that's really cool. You have your retro '80s stuff. If you can boot Windows, I have no doubt about it that the game that the system could be modded enough to where you can emulate, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, probably PS1, maybe PS2 and GameCube
Mhm.
stuff with like Dolphin or whatever. Like it could be this sort of big all-in-one emulation machine for everything pre 7th gen. I want to think.
Okay. Here's something that you should buy instead of right now that costs as much as you want it to cost, and it can do already a lot more than the Atari VCS, and it can run all of these games.
What?
NVIDIA Shield. NVIDIA Shield TV is really all that you need. Now the tube version costs $150. I'm sure that you can pick it up used. And if you want like the actual box, that you can plug in other things too if you wanted to. I actually have an external drive plugged into mine specifically just so that I can emulate things, just so that I can toss in old retro games that I really want to play, like Game Boy Advance games or whatever. But it can go way back if you really wanted to,
Okay, but
and that's $200.
Okay, but can the NVIDIA Shield come in a wood paneling finish?
Wood paneling finish.
I want a wood paneling finish.
You want a wood paneling finish?
It's got to be Atari.
It's got to be Atari. Well,
Everything's more fun with Atari. Which, of course, we also have to, of course, know that this is not actual Atari. This is a
it's new school trying to be old school.
it is a
Atari.
company wearing Atari. It is a wolf in Atari clothing, is what it is. The original Atari died long ago. Honestly, the history of Atari is really interesting, and my YouTube channel being as dead as it is, I've actually considered the possibility of doing like a whole video or a series like on the history of Atari and where we've reached up to this point where we get to the VCS.
Like a video essay.
Yeah, like a full-on video essay or like a mini documentary sort of thing.
I think that'd be cool.
One part. If there's interest in that, by all means, say so in the comment section below.
Yeah. I'll watch it too.
If there is in fact an interest on like possible history of Atari type stuff, I could probably like go deep in there because I think it's a very interesting history there.
Mhm.
How the video game crash killed it, how they also died because of Sword Quest and that whole little series because they were offering like massive prizes. Like we're talking like actually jewel encrusted swords and like
Ooh.
things like that. Like they were
Wow.
like valued at like $25,000+ for these prizes and stuff like that. And they had to pull the plug on the entire thing because the industry crashed due to things like Pac-Man and ET, which were also Atari's fault.
Mhm.
And so like that's a whole thing you can go in on there, and that's even long before we get into the fact that Atari has like the name Atari has shifted hands like 3-4 times before we get to where we are now. Like the original Atari of the 2600 days is long dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Um,
this isn't the same company technically that we're talking about anymore.
No, yeah, no. This is very much just a new company that is trying to profit off Atari. Oh no. Is that what happened? Oh. Oh no. Oh my god. Okay, so because we're probably gonna edit this into the actual footage on the thing, because we got to use the audio as well. For those who are wondering why there is a black screen or a technical difficulty screen, apparently our camera overheated on us. So I guess we're doing the rest of the podcast in the dark here.
At the very least, for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I can't. Wow, that is unprecedented technical difficulties.
Very much unforeseen, and we were almost done too.
I know, right? We're because we're running on towards the end here, but
Yeah.
So yeah, like Atari VCS, I definitely want to cover more once we have an actual release date and sort of a idea of where we're going with these things. Because they've been very secretive about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It. Very concerning in a lot of ways, and obviously we talk about it technically being an alternative to the other systems, but it's not.
Mhm.
I feel like most people will probably just wait for the other systems, or they'll go to a PC, or maybe they'll even buy a Switch, because I imagine stock issues with the Switch have probably fixed themselves up at this point. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, that Atari's going to try. They're going to fail.
It's just a cash grab. That's how I see it. I don't think that they're actually trying to be competitors.
You know what I think of when I see the Atari VCS? I don't think PlayStation competitor. I don't think Xbox. I think Ouya.
Yeah,
I think of the Ouya.
I understand that. I actually think more so of like a streaming box. I think it really should just be a streaming box that can run emulators.
That's the
like
thing too,
NVIDIA
though.
Shield.
That's the one thing I want to make note, though. Like I mentioned the Ouya, but honestly, the Atari VCS seems better than the Ouya.
Yeah.
Like I remember when the Ouya failed, a lot of people were like upset how it was just an Android box that you can play mobile games on and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know why anyone was surprised about it, because they advertised it as that.
Yeah.
It was advertised from the get-go as running on Android OS, so I don't know why anyone was surprised when it turns out to be that case. Like, I wasn't interested in it because it was only going to be Android games.
Mm-hmm.
People are certainly surprised that it only was Android games. All like, oh, give me my money back. No, you paid for. They advertise it very straight up to you, and you got what you paid for. But the Atari seems to run a lot better stuff. Like, it can theoretically boot Windows. More than likely, it's going to be able to boot Linux, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Yeah. I mean, Linux is a fairly simple operating system to run.
there's more to the VCS than there was to the Ouya. And the other thing, too, is that the Ouya was also very closed-circuited, and now you cannot use it at all because they shut down all the servers. The VCS, you can probably use on your own without needing any service or anything like that.
Probably.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, that's the hope. You and I both are probably going to try to get our hands on one.
I will definitely say that when the VCS falls flat on its face, hopefully Atari does do a massive price dip on it and like puts it to sub 200, because then at that point I might actually look into it
Yeah, maybe so.
just to have the novelty factor, because if nothing else, it'll be a very like interesting piece of like retro gaming, chic. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
Of course. I mean, I'm looking forward to the launch just to be able to say, okay, I have this thing in hand. I'm gonna try it. It sucks, and that's it.
I don't even think it's gonna suck. I just think it's really overpriced. Honestly,
I'm expecting frame rate issues, but
we'll see.
we'll see. Again, we do have to wait until
We'll
then.
see. Let's see what Atari gives us. Because again, Series X, you're not even really interested in. PS5, you're probably gonna have some problems getting that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some issues with that.
You're probably gonna be waiting until next year for that.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, let's hope that I can actually snag one on release day. I will
course.
try to have multiple people try to help me get one,
That's
but
right. Yeah.
let's try our best there.
With that said,
Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been a deluxe episode per se.
very long running episode here. We had a lot to talk about though.
Yes, indeed. And even if we came across one issue with the camera, we're so very grateful that you made sure to stop by and that you stuck around for this long. With that said, do make sure to follow me on the social media down below. I'm sure that
You're pointing at absolutely nothing. No one's going to see your finger pointing. But sure enough, the social media will in fact be there on the lower half of the screen. That's for sure.
yes, for sure. And with that said, have a good one, everybody, and enjoy.
Thank you very much. Good night. Travel well.